Indisputable exclusive. Alabama prisons again. Let me do it this way. I want to put up a picture of the carnage. All right? I want to put up the picture of the carnage. Do you see that? Look at it. I know it's hard to look at. It's harder for him to go through. He's actually not dead in this picture. These were his final days. I wanted to show you what he looked like before. You see this? That's his sister next to him, but look how healthy he is. Look how young he looks. I go back to the picture again of what happened to him in prison. In Alabama, Antonio Arnez Smith, an incarcerated man, ended up dying 4 days after being released on medical furlough. And his sister, Travella Casey, is speaking out. Ms. Casey has been trying to bring attention to her late brother's tragedy by sharing pictures of her brother during his final days. Here's her story. November 2023, a large mass was found in my brother, Antonio Arnez Smith. After testing, it was confirmed to be cancer. For years, Antonio had been experiencing shoulder pain and his arm was visibly losing muscle mass. This was apparent to anyone because one arm had reduced to half the size of the other. Although he wrote several grievances and made several complaints, no imaging outside of an X-ray had been done. Now, I want to remind everyone, when you are incarcerated, your tax dollars taken away from your paycheck is to provide adequate health care for individuals under state control. This is the law. That is not an option. It is mandated. There's more. An X-ray will only see so much. They know this. So his complaints would be ignored for years, not days, not months, but years. Dismissed by doctors, claiming he was perfectly fine, even though his muscle mass was rapidly deteriorating. Antonio had been a model inmate and had been housed an honor camp for years prior to his diagnosis. One of his jobs had even been at a recreational center in Decatur, Alabama. After the pain got so severe, doctors at Red Eagle Honor Camp finally ordered an MRI. Finally. This would come years from the time he first started complaining about his arm. Once the MRI had been conducted and it was confirmed to be cancer, the Red Eagle Honor Camp said that he would then have to be transferred to Kilby Infirmary because they were not equipped to provide the treatment he would need. The mass was found in November, but the transfer did not take place until January. Within 2 months awaiting transfer, he was given very little information about his diagnosis. He didn't find out what kind of cancer he had or what stage he had until after the transfer was complete. Put her up. You're looking at Red Eagle Community Work Center. Warden, correctional warden, Miss Adrienne Givens. She's the current person in charge. The sister says, for 2 months, he was left wondering. Once the information was given about his condition, it was still very conflicting. Initially, he was told he had bone and lung cancer, but it turned out to be only lung cancer. This also caused more worrying about the uncertainty of his diagnosis. After arriving at the Kilby Infirmary, he just sat with nothing being done. Within this time, the cancer had eaten through 4 or 5 of his ribs, front and back. This caused him to be in excruciating pain. constantly. By February, he still had not started to receive any form of treatment. He arrived in January weighing 159 pounds. He was rapidly losing weight. Myself and several other family members started to make calls to Alabama Department of Corrections, wondering when he would start to receive treatments. Hundreds of calls and emails had been made. Nothing done, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. His pain had become unbearable, she says. And he had been given morphine and fentanyl to accommodate. This was causing severe constipation and suppression of his appetite. The medicine was not giving any relief. After making the doctors at the infirmary aware, he was told that it wouldn't be changed, it would not be changed, and not taking it would be considered refusal of treatment. So he continued to take it. By the time treatment started in May, he was being considered the same month for medical furlough, meaning he's about to die, so we will release him. Our family was crushed after receiving news of his denial. Previous report was done. Let's put up this brother. His name is Patrick Darrington, remarkable journalist of the Alabama Political Reporter. He would write, before obtaining medical furlough in September, Smith attempted to obtain release through the provision in May, but it was denied by ADOC Commissioner John Hamm. This was covered by several news outlets at the time as well. During a June Prison Oversight Committee meeting, Hamm addressed denying Smith's petition for medical furlough at that time. Hamm explained that he denied the request for medical furlough then because Smith still had the capability of committing crime and was convicted of murder. Smith was charged with the murder of his girlfriend at age 22. In an appeal that was denied, he stated he had ineffective counsel because his attorney never mentioned specific information in the trial, including the time of the shooting. He was twice at the legal intoxication limit. Smith's prosecutor was Doug Valeska, who is alleged in the petition as being affiliated with the KKK, the Ku Klux Klans. The appeal also states that the judge gave Smith a sentence of 99 years despite Smith having no prior offenses and the decision exceeding the maximum sentence authorized. In another document, Smith's brother, a witness when the incident occurred, said it was an accidental shooting. Casey would explain how bad his condition got. She said at the time of his denial, Antonio had become wheelchair bound with very limited mobility. He could barely move. He was then down to 117 pounds, and complications were getting worse. The day after his medical furlough was denied, I was able to gain access to his medical records, which Department of Corrections fought so hard for us not to get. After obtaining the medical records, a reporter finally agreed to run the story on him. They wouldn't do so until we could prove our claims. Patrick Darrington would lay out the events that preceded. So Mr. Darrington says on October 5th, Casey called her brother, and Smith said he had not taken a bath since they visited 10 days earlier. Casey also said that his cancer treatment never started until approximately June, although he received his cancer diagnosis in November of 2022. Quote, I spoke with Lieutenant Daniels, and he said that the medical department said they didn't consider Tony to be incapacitated, so they didn't assist him with anything, Casey said. And this was before he came home in the condition I showed you. And I'm asking them, even with our electrical hospital bed, he couldn't even lift his head up on his own. So just to get out of bed, he was having to pay inmates. He was having to pay others who were incarcerated to get him out of bed. After his release, Casey said Lieutenant Cooper with ADOC and Jada Gardner had Yes Care representative, a Yes Care representative warned the family about what they could not do as he was still the property of the state. They told the family that if they took pictures of Smith and posted them online or took him to an outside doctor, Smith would be returned to the prison. If they simply took pictures, he would be punished. What kind of sense does this make? Casey said Cooper and Gardner were more worried about the family putting Smith on social media than they were about his status as a human being. Antonio Arnez Smith was granted medical furlough in late September, but was not released to his family until 30 days later, on October 23rd. 4 days later, he died. He passed away 4 days later because of the effects of stage 4 lung cancer. And what his sister says is a clear medical neglect by the Alabama Department of Corrections. Put him up. You're looking at Commissioner John Hamm. You see, Commissioner Hamm did not respond to Indisputable. We reached out to the Alabama Department of Corrections last week requesting a statement to Ms. Casey's accusations. As of this segment, no one from the Department of Corrections has bothered to respond to us. No one. I want to give a special thank you, in addition to the courage of the sister and to the family who has been pushing for basic humanitarian rights to be applied here. Special thanks to Jeanette Jones of Mass Incarceration, Must End Incorporated, for obtaining this statement from Travella Casey, and Patrick Darrington for his reporting last month, who first exposed this story. This is what journalism is supposed to do. Transparency provides its own disinfectant if done correctly. Now, we are working with individuals who are uncovering these tragedies inside of prisons. If you remember Mr. Vaughn in Alabama, we had to uncover that tragedy. I had to go to Alabama, literally had to tell the Alabama warden, I will not leave, I will not go anywhere unless you call the sheriff to have me arrested, because they would not allow local media or the family to see the man who clearly, based on pictures, looked to be dying. Looked very similar to what you just saw. Attorney Ben Crump, Harry Daniels, and others got involved. After that, the family was able to get him moved to an actual medical facility. You shouldn't take all that as the point. We have time and time again, same scenario, different players, same outcome, different authorities, but in the same industry, prison. People do not lose their humanity because they are serving time. These are not recommendations. It is a significant human rights violation to do this to people. This is savage. This is heartless. All right, we're going to give you updates as they come. Rickey, thoughts here?
Yeah, I would have thought you was describing a movie from one of those movies from HBO with Dustin Hoffman, whatever. That just have somebody sitting in a cell just rotting away. You can, and at some point, do the warden go around and put eyes on the inmates himself or whatever, and figure that something is wrong. You would think that it is 2024, and this sounds like something come out of the 1940s or 1950s or whatever. And it's almost like another form of slavery, just how they treat Black folks, and it's bad. That stuff like this is still going on in 2024. My condolences to his family. I hope that Ben Crump or any other attorney involved bring justice to this family, and that they're sued, and also the people that allowed all of this to happen be held accountable, because it's wrong, and that's a really sad story.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone, check out Senator John Ossoff's report after he concluded his investigation into prisons, and you will clearly see that there's extreme criminal activity being done right here on American soil, contextualized through the prison industry. naturally, we are going to bring you updates to this story.